Hey everyone, it's Ash. It's so great to be here with you today for another episode of Harmony Rising. Episode 8, can you believe it? I can't. I mean, it's great. I can't even tell you I got the nudge to make these videos a few months ago when I was healing from back surgery, and now here we are on our 8th episode. So let's dive on in. So here at Harmony Rising, remember that this is a sanctuary where peace, presence, and purpose rise together. I'm Ashley, and each episode is an invitation to slow down, breathe deeper, and come home to yourself. All right. So here today, this is going to be all about adolescence and becoming yourself. Okay. So, but before we dive into today's episode, let's focus on last week's reflection prompts. Okay. So remember last week, we talked about, where did I feel included? During those years, we talked about the sense of belonging and the influence behind belonging and the importance of belonging. And we talked about where did I feel unseen or left out during that time in my life, and how did it shape me? So during those points of my life, right? And if we go back to last week, it was belonging, identity in the middle years. And so when I look at, where did I feel including during these years? I really felt included, in sports, if I could be quite honest. I really felt included being hyper around other kids, playing sports. I was very competitive. I loved being a part of a team. So to me, I really found that if I could be on a team, whether it was baseball, basketball, dance team, anything like that, I really felt like that was where I found a sense of belonging. And when I didn't feel seen, or if I felt left out, I think that came from, honestly, I really never really felt that way. I never really felt left out. I kind of was the type of kid who just made my way, like I remember grabbing my dad's tools and going into the woods and making forts and, just really making my way. I always really kind of stood firm in myself and who I was. I never really struggled with that identity of self. I think as I grew up, I didn't always make the best choices, but in these younger years, I really stood firm in that person. So I really hope you all had a chance to reflect on those prompts and had some revelations for yourself. But let's go ahead and dive into episode 8. So adolescence and becoming yourself. Now that we've taken the time, let's really reflect on this one, because this one is powerful. Because adolescence is the season where your inner world begins to stretch, where identity really starts to take shape, and where emotions intensify, and where belonging becomes a little bit more complex, and where you begin to ask the question, who am I really? Right? So as you know, we're going to start with breath work to get this party started today. So let's go ahead and inhale gently today. Exhale slowly. Inhale gently. And exhale slowly, letting our body soften into this moment. In Breaking Patterns and Building Peace, I write, the cracks you're feeling, they're not signs of weakness, but they're invitations, right? And so adolescence, it's full of cracks. And these moments that feel too big and too intense and too confusing and too emotional, those cracks, they're not failures, they're openings. They were the first glimpse of our authentic selves, right? Trying to emerge, trying to break free. So remember that the world has tried time and time again to tell you who you should be, right? And that starts really at a young age. And as these cracks are trying to reveal to us who we truly are. And so paying attention to that, because that was showing us who our authentic self is. In these adolescence years, these are the ages where we begin to see the world differently. We start to notice that people have different stories than our own. They have different beliefs. They have different experiences. We begin to understand that life is layered, and so are we. So let's talk about what's happening inside of you during these years. You start to learn, what do I believe? Who is Ashley? What do I stand for? What makes me different? What makes me enough? Where do I belong? Who sees me? Who doesn't see me? What parts of me feel true? And what parts of me feel like a performance? These questions weren't just mental, they're emotional, they're energetic. They were identity shaping, okay? In everyday empathy, I talk about expanding perspective, and adolescence is where that expansion starts to begin, okay? In the empathy element, I talk about self-leadership. In adolescence is where you first start leading yourself, even if it happens imperfectly. This is where it first begins. This is the season where you begin to separate your voice from the voices around you. So maybe you were the teenager who felt everything very deeply, like me. I mean, my mom was like, Ashley, you can't save the world. And I was like, Mom, I am going to die trying, right? Because I felt it so deeply in my soul. I still to this day feel everything deeply. I've had to learn intentionally how to protect myself energetically from not feeling things so deeply, because I am an empath and I take on everyone's energy. And so I've had to, I have energy crystals on me right now to protect me from that, right? It is something that I've had to learn how to operate with, because I am someone who I just attract the energies. I just absorb it, right? And you have to learn that about yourself and how to navigate it. So maybe you were the teenager who felt everything deeply like I did. Maybe you were the one who hid your feelings. Maybe you were the one who tried to fit in. Maybe you were the one who didn't fit in at all, right? Maybe you're the one who did everything by yourself. Maybe you were the one who was a really high achiever. Maybe you were the rebel. I was the rebel. Maybe you were the quiet one, right? Or the dreamer or the caretaker. Maybe you were too busy taking care of everybody else. Like my sister Tiffany, I feel like she was the caretaker. Maybe you were the one who felt invisible or the one who felt too much. None of these roles were random. They were all responses to what you had to deal with, right? Your environment and what you were called to, what your responses were to your relationships, the responses that were called to your identity, to your belonging and to your truth. And many of those responses still echo in your adult life. So today, I want to guide you into a moment of compassion. Not for who you are now, but for who you were then. Because remember, we're on this journey of healing layers and layers and layers of ourselves so that we can come home to who we are today. Because if we can operate with empathy, love, and compassion and layers of who we are, then we can show up today being real to who we are. And that is the key to live a fulfilled life, right? To be grateful, to show up every day true to who we are. Can you imagine? It's gorgeous, right? So this is your compassion to your younger self practice. If you can close your eyes, let your breath slow down, let your shoulders soften. Now picture your teenage self. Let's just breathe it in a little bit real quick. Now picture your teenage self. See their face, their eyes, their posture, and their energy. Notice what they're carrying, their pressure, the confusion, the longing, the hope, the fears, their desire to be understood. Now imagine just placing a gentle hand on their shoulder and looking at them with softness, with compassion and understanding, and whispering internally, "You were doing the best you could. You were doing the best you could." Let those words land. Let them soften something inside of you and let them reach the parts of you that still feel tender. Your teenage self wasn't dramatic. They were awakening. They weren't lost. They were searching. They weren't broken. They were becoming. So many of us still hold on to so many of these open wounds, and we have pushed them down so far and we haven't healed them yet. And yet we continue going on every day without taking the time to heal. And then when we face them with anger. We're mad. We're mad at ourselves. We're mad at the way that we handle them. We might feel weak. We might feel weak that we even still have this issue. But I'm here to tell you that it doesn't make you weak because you were doing the best you could. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for showing up here today. I'm proud of you for giving two shits about yourself today, for wanting to care, for wanting to love yourself, for showing up for yourself. So before we close out today, I want to leave you with two gentle questions to reflect on for this week. What did you learn about yourself during your adolescence? What did you learn about your teenage self that surprised you? What did you learn? For me, I'll tell you, I stood up for everyone. I stood up for those folks who got bullied in high school. Yes, I got kicked out of multiple high schools in Florida for fighting. But guess what? At the end of the day, I stuck up for those people who were being bullied because they didn't have a voice. And damn it, I was going to be their voice. And you know what? I stuck up for them. And I learned something about myself. I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate. Rightfully so. And what parts of me were beginning to emerge that I did not yet know how to honor is that I was a leader at birth. I have been born to help people heal. I have been born to help people lead. To lead you all to heal beautiful parts of yourself. So that's the second reflection prompt for you. What parts of you are beginning to emerge that you did not yet know how to honor? Let your answers come softly, let them come honestly, and let them come with compassion. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for honoring the teenager who was just trying to find their way. Thank you for choosing healing one gentle moment at a time. And as you move through your day, remember, adolescence wasn't the end of your becoming, it was the beginning. So until next time, this is Harmony Rising. And I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for spending this time with me. And if today's episode supported you, grounded you, or helped you reconnect with yourself, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need it too. And remember, peace is a practice, presence is a choice, and you are always worthy of coming home to yourself because that's the purpose of it all. Until next time, this is Harmony Rising. Have a good one.